Everything's comic books. Everything's wrestling.
Everything is wrestling, Trevor.
Everything is wrestling. Everything in the world can be related back to wrestling in some fashion.
I had a topic prepared. I think we should go into it.
Okay, do it.
It's a topic I definitely did not expect to want to talk about. It's the Mike Tyson fight with Jake Paul.
Why are we talking about this?
Yeah, so I'll tell you why. I'll be honest. Like my experience with boxing is something like Rocky, and that's about it. Obviously, Rocky dramatizes and cinematizes the boxing experience a lot, and so it's kind of almost WWE-ifies boxing. So, but I never really watched it professionally, and anytime I did, I didn't find it super interesting.
Yeah, mine is just Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I know that, and Rocky, yes.
Yeah, and so I didn't even know that this special event on Netflix was happening until like everybody on social media was talking about it. All of a sudden I was like, well, what's going on? What am I missing?
Oh, here's what I could glean from just the chatter was Netflix was playing like shit that day. So they were talking about the bit rate because they would put like pictures of Mike Tyson's Punch Outs. Like looks better resolution than what Netflix is doing. And then also Mike Tyson's ass.
It was during a news interview in advance of the thing. They were in the locker room. And he's like, thanks, Mike. And he's like, yeah, no problem. And he walks off and it's just his ass. and then like it like has to like quickly cut away to like back to like the news anchors or something. But get this, dude. So it's by far the most watched boxing event of all time. It was 65 million concurrent streams on Netflix.
Wow. So that's why it was having a hard time.
So yeah, highest grossing boxing event, 80,000 people in the arena. So that's like you're getting into like WrestleMania territory with those kinds of numbers.
Wow.
It's one of those. I don't actually know the arena they were in, but it's one of those barns. Mike Tyson, probably the biggest name in boxing of all time. I mean, he's in the top 5, like Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, George Foreman. Who else would you put in there? Just the big names.
Names you can think off the top of your head. Yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of guys who can even conceivably box, he's one of the GOATs. So he has not boxed professionally since 2005.
I don't think I have it anymore because I got the ability to stay in shape, but I don't got the fighting guts, I don't think, anymore. No, I'm just fighting to take care of my bills, basically.
That makes you think of Rocky Balboa, the movie Rocky Balboa.
So I'm like, well, look at that, man. I guess Rocky Balboa wasn't that much of a stretch. And I remember I watched that movie a couple of years ago again. I love the movie. And I was it's a really tight screenplay. The screenplay is, I think, impeccable in Rocky Balboa. I think it's really nice. Just the story themes and the way they, the dialogue, of course, and the character work and the pacing of scenes. It's just really nice. And then the third act culmination. And again, if you listen to the commentary track, but the movie goes out of its way. I mean, the movie really works overtime to not gloss over the absurdity of a 60-year-old man getting in the ring with like, a 25-year-old man.
I'm the champ. I mean, I get pissed, this guy get hurt.
It really goes hard to be like, they're trying to do an exhibition for publicity. And so now, but now there's this question of like, do I just destroy the old man? And then actually the old man has a fighting chance and all this sort of stuff. Mike Tyson, I don't know if you've ever watched one of these YouTube viral videos of him just knocking people out in 1986 and 1987, that kind of thing. It's wild. I mean, it looks like the kind of sport that should be banned. And he was the youngest world champion of all time at age 20. So that's interesting too, is like, he was the biggest name in boxing in 1986. And here we are, he's like 60 or 58 now or whatever he is. You think of like Mike Tyson's Punch Out and you're like, that's from a long time. That's from 40 years ago.
And they licensed him like right before he got like really big. So it was like kind of a coincidence that it happened.
So I'm not exactly sure, how this all got set up, but it seems like it was 100% publicity and money motivated. There's a lot of boxing fans out there that seem to express their frustration with it because they feel like everybody who watched is a poser. They're like, imagine if you never watched a boxing match and then you watch that boxing match.
Do not absolve somebody who is fucking sandbagging in front of you. Either stretch this fucking guy or don't make fights like fucking this.
Because it wasn't an especially thrilling boxing match. Honestly, it was, some jabs and some, I would say in the first round, the first minute or so, they're both moving pretty quick. Tyson's moving pretty quick. And then he tuckers out. And all the commentary later was like, Tyson either knocks you out in the first round or he loses. That's how this is going to go, which reminds me of Balboa to some degree, where they were like, you can't move very fast and you got calcium deposits. So you're just going to have to be able to punch really hard.
Let's start building some hurting bombs.
But it does legitimize the Rocky Balboa movie a lot, just its existence.
Yeah, the people, I heard people, again, I didn't see the match, but I heard people say it acted more like a spar than an actual match.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and they added lots of showmanship to it. Like Jake Paul comes out in like a Corvette, and he's got his brother in the back seat, and it's all this fanfare and it's bombastic, and there's music and the place is going crazy. And then Mike Tyson walks out and there's no fanfare really. He's just got a ton of guys walking behind him like he's some kind of convicted criminal, because he is.
His bare ass.
He's got his bare ass hanging out. And I'm sitting there going, a lot of people hate this Jake Paul guy, and I don't know whether or not to hate him. I know very little about him. He doesn't run in my circles. He doesn't collect VHS.
Yeah, it's a YouTube circle of hell that I've not ever stepped into. Or
I remember H3 making fun of some music video he was in about making money.
Yeah, and I remember the drama of his brother and like the Japanese,
right? The suicide forest.
Or whatever, yeah.
I know Logan's got an energy drink that looks disgusting.
They all do. Mr. Beast has those like Lunchables that are like all moldy or something.
But here's something I know about Logan Paul. I watch a little bit of wrestling from time to time, and he like appeared, a couple of years ago on a WrestleMania, and then he started wrestling a little bit more frequently. And the dude put in the work. He is a great high flying WWE wrestler. He's pretty great.
Well, they used to be wrestlers, right? Like real wrestlers. The sport wrestling, not pro wrestling.
The Pauls were?
Yeah, they were like, I think they were kind of famous when they were in like high school.
I wanted to know, I was like, how did they get so, because they're some of the biggest YouTubers. I was like, how did they become so huge on YouTube? You know what I found out? They got huge on Vine. These are Vine stars.
Vine!
Yeah.
Baby.
That's where this all started.
Elon Musk, bring back Vine.
It would be very funny if I brought back Vine. Yeah, forget MSNBC.
Forget the Department of Government Efficiency. Vine. V-I-N-E.
Let's have an American competitor to TikTok. And then Jake Paul's boxing career started with some foolish YouTube boxing. He's going to box a YouTuber, that kind of shit that they've done before. Boogie boxed some people.
Yeah. Embarrassing.
But then Jake decided that he was going to work hard at boxing, and he was going to be at least respectable. At least it wouldn't be like totally nonsense for him to, and he must, he knew all along. He's like, with my popularity, I can draw crowds. And at some point with these sport exhibitions, it matters a lot more that you can sell tickets than anything else.
Jesus doesn't draw money unless Satan has heat.
So yeah, I think it's pretty impressive. Again, without getting into the details of their personalities or anything else, but I just think it's really impressive that they kind of entered two fields that they don't necessarily have any business being in. James Rolfe tried to become a musician through Rex Viper, and
did not.
He couldn't will that into existence, really. And these guys were like, no. Like, if I'm going to be a boxer, I'm going to box properly, and if I'm going to be a WWE wrestler, I'm going to take it seriously. As they both come off like jerk offs, and so you expect that also means that they draw a lot of heat, and so there was a good deal of theater that went into the pre-match. Like there was one of their pre-match events where Mike Tyson slapped him real hard in the face.
Wow. I
have a question about Mike Tyson. So I went through his criminal history because I knew he had one. I wasn't totally clear on the details until I read the Wikipedia and comprehensively, like Destiny. He's been married several times. In his early career, he was married to a woman who was like, he abused me all the time. The spousal abuse was against Robin Givens. I guess there's not technically any proof of that, but sure seems to be the case. He was a wife beater. And then he was a convicted rapist. He went to jail for 6 years for rape. And that was, I guess, another one. Like, a lot of people debate that ruling. I think he was sentenced for 6 years and maybe got out in 3 or something. I don't remember exactly. But apparently the evidence was compelling at the time enough that he went to jail for rape. This is a convicted rapist we're talking about. One way or another, this is a convicted rapist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is this the most forgiven convicted rapist of all time? that people like come out and pay big money to see this dude box, and they're not really talking about his past crimes all that much.
they don't talk about it at all. Yeah, and he had like a Adult Swim show, right? Like Mike Tyson's Mysteries. Like
Am I missing something?
He's totally been rehabilitated, as they say in Hollywood.
I mean, it seems like he wants to live a better life, and he's got like some podcasts. I've listened to a few clips. He has some interesting things to say.
Yeah, it's just like Robert Downey Jr. You know, you have a second life. You know.
True, but he just didn't. He was not a convicted rapist. It's a hell of a thing, you know.
I always get Mike Tyson mixed up with Diedrich Tatum from The Simpsons.
Need a ride home?
You really don't want that. Trust me.
The one that I keep waiting for like cancel culture to catch up with him, but he's managed to escape it is Mark Wahlberg.
Oh yeah, he like beat a dude to death, basically, or blind almost.
And like it was a hate crime. It was like because the guy was Asian, and he got like completely exonerated. Like he like went to court like a few years back and like got completely exonerated. He was like, as you can see, I've lived a good life. And
yeah, but he hasn't really been in a ton of stuff lately.
He's kind of turned to like a lot of Christian content and stuff. I think he's kind of going a different way.
Okay.
Did you know that Mike Tyson, going into this match, he has had 50 victories, 6 defeats. That's his record. 44 of those 50 defeats or victories rather were KOs. Knocked out 44 of his wins. It's fucking crazy.
He's a monster. It's crazy.
They think they know they've been around crazy niggas. Oh no. They don't know one. They don't know crazy nigga. No, they really don't.
But age is a factor here.
Age comes for us all.
Yes, age comes for us all. There's this I've talked on the pod about Nick's Pizza in my town, and there was this Indian guy who bought it. And I'm hearing now there's this other store that the same guy is going to be buying. And now there's like an ice cream place. And we were joking about like, do you think the Indian guy is going to buy it? And Nina and I around the house, we started to say things like, you know, one day the Indian guy comes for all of us. He eventually buys you. So Jake Paul is 28. And he, without too much effort in the 8 rounds, he got in many more punches and he did, in the final round, he kind of did it like a bow of respect. And of course the after match interview was kind of charming and everybody was fairly respectful. Mike joked about maybe fighting Logan, and Logan was like, motherfucker, Mike, I'll kill you. I was thinking about, when everybody was complaining, everybody was complaining about how boring the fight was. And I was like, well, I don't really know what you want to do about that. Like, if they're actually going to fight, then there's no promise that it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah.
It's not WWE. It's not scripted. And I wonder if, like, is WWE fucking with our ability to enjoy, like, sporting events like these or fights anyway? Or UFC, too, because UFC is pretty entertaining,
Yeah, probably. Yeah, UFC. That's one of the biggest things ever. And that's not something I even touch,
I wonder can it through celebrity, boxing fans would not like this, but like through celebrity and through showmanship and through big marketing and big publicity, could you kind of turn boxing into like what UFC is doing and get really big crowds again and kind of rehabilitate the whole sport with the right exhibitions?
They want to watch Jake Paul, keeping fans from other world, right?
Yeah. I think like UFC for also just doesn't get as many like head injuries. Like it's just not, it's kind of like I feel like your football is going to change at some point too.
Yeah, I feel like it has to.
You can't be just getting these head injuries all the time. And it just doesn't feel good to watch it.
Well, speaking of a head injury, Tyson, you're watching the match for the first time and he's biting his glove the whole time.
Oh.
So he's like blocking and he's biting his glove. And the whole time the commentators are like, we don't know why he's biting his glove. And they're like, maybe does he have a problem with his mouth guard? Is that what it is?
That's something that he did in his amateur day. He did in his pro day. For people that follow Mike Tyson, his career, they've seen it before.
A lot of like speculation around that. And then at the end, they're like, was something wrong with your mouth guard, Mike? What was going on with the glove? Can you tell us anything about that? And he was like, I like to bite my glove sometimes. And they were like, why? He's like, I think I have a biting fixation.
Wow.
It's like after the event with the ear.
Yeah, yes.
Yes, I would say so. Final comment on the whole thing. As I was thinking about the Pauls, I was reminded, I was like, were they ever on TV? Did they ever do anything narrative? I was reminded of, do you remember YouTube Red? It was, it became YouTube Premium, but the idea at the time with Cobra Kai and it was like, well, we'll just be a streaming platform too, which is kind of a weird, miscalculated thing because people simply don't go to that platform for narrative content typically. But one of the shows, it was called The Thinning, and it starred Logan Paul as like one of the main characters. And the idea was like at this high school, if you like can't pass the math test, you die or something. It was such like a high school concept. You know? I never watched it, but I watched the trailer before talking about it, and I was like, yeah, it's just so funny the way it was designed to appeal to young people.
Yeah, well, people were like, oh, it's like if you made a feature, would it just like go right onto YouTube? It's like, no, probably not. It's like that YouTube is not the place for feature films.
It's not the place that's going to get watched. You know, a podcast clip will outperform it, guaranteed.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't like me, I don't give a damn. Shut your mouths. Keep buying my dolls, buy my t-shirts. Yeah, the economy might be bad. There's a lot of you out there suffering. Guess what? I ain't one of them.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.